Right, everyone. This guy I'm about to bring on, been aware of him since day zero, really, when the whole shit show began. This guy was on the front lines. This is the guy that was, really trying to get the truth out there on social media. I was as well. A lot of us were, but then we noticed that in the mainstream and the so-called truthers were not doing the sort of work that we expected them to do. This is a man that was really on the front lines and using his social media platforms to really spread the truth and bring awareness to everything. So I'm really grateful to have this guy on. Ash, how you doing, brother?
No, hi. Thanks for having me on, my brother. Yeah, cheers. It's
Uh,
good to be on and have a chat with you.
yeah, no, I know. And it's good to have a chat about everything that's gone on. And like I was
Mm.
saying, there's you've been vocal since the start, and your message hasn't changed either. We're going
No.
to talk about, when we have this chat, we're going to talk about how certain high-profile voices have suddenly changed, as if they're
Mm.
kind of trying to go with the zeitgeist a little bit. They're trying to move with the times and seem like on point, but we want to kind of have a discussion around that and what we've noticed, and we're going to talk about your encounter, your sort of back and forth with a certain Dr. Malhotra as well. I
Yeah.
want to get into that because that's important as well, because these certain doctors, high-profile doctors, are now getting a lot of coverage talking about the dangers of the jabs, but they weren't at the start, and that's what's
Mm.
annoying and frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It just seems like what we're all experiencing now is an orchestrated event, i.e., it's the destruction of COVID in the media's eyes, and the problem they have is you can't hide from this for much longer, and this is why they're addressing what they're addressing now, because they want people to believe the narrative that they're going to set now rather than the narrative
Mm.
in which we've been saying since the start. It's incredible how they've managed to do it, how they managed to control it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got a select few now that are um, the forerunners or championing against what had happened.
Mm.
But the problem is now in my eyes, these people are not legitimate in terms of what they want out of it. If you are this far into it now, you're still championing what's been going on. The only outcome you're looking for now is justice. And if you're not part of that now, if you're not looking to, get the police involved or have people held accountable, then I don't really understand what you're doing by highlighting all of this now.
Do you
And
not
there's
think
a
they
fair
are?
few of them.
Do you not
I
think they
don't
are trying
know.
to put pressure on people and sort of get them held accountable or not?
I don't know. I don't hear any talk from these people. They might be talking the talk now. They might be saying, oh, all these excess deaths could possibly be from, the jabs and everything. But what's the point in highlighting all of this if you're not going to then ask for justice to be served?
Mm.
I just don't see it. I don't see them doing it, and I don't understand the logic in it. If we're going to have these talks going on in Westminster by Bridgen,
Mm.
highlighting everything that's going on, but yet you're not talking for any kind of justice at the end of it, just
Mm.
screams alarm bells for me.
Mm. There is something, I don't know if you know about this thing called Operation Trust. It was during the Bolshevik era, and they set up a fake anti-Bolshevik kind of organization, and so
Mm.
it kind of placated the masses because they're like, oh, okay, well, like there's people like taking this on our behalf, so we won't do anything, what I
Mm.
mean? And I feel like
Yeah.
it could be a little bit of that where they packaged these kind of anti-COVID narrative, high-profile doctors and politicians and stuff, and then we're meant to all go, okay, they've got our back. They're doing it for us, like the savior complex. Like, oh, we
Well,
don't
the
have to do
best the,
anything
the
now.
best way to control the narrative is to
Yeah,
be the narrative,
yeah, exactly. So I'm
and they've
always
and they've
skeptical
got.
about it.
That's what it feels like. It feels like they've got both sides wrapped up now. And I don't know who said it, but there's a famous quote. If they want a hero, we shall supply him.
Exactly.
And that's
Yeah.
and that's just what it feels like now. It really does. A lot of people, like you're saying, they're just more than happy to sit back now because they've got a hero. They've got somebody that they can believe is championing their viewpoint. And when you've got someone that's doing that for you, it's very easy to say take a back seat, isn't it?
Yeah, sort of take the power out of your own hands is what they want, because they don't want like an uprising of like 8 billion people like taking the power into their own hands. They'd rather
Yeah.
just let them sit back and go, okay, we've got a superhero doing it for us. Well, they've got our backs, but that's not how things work. The top down never works. We should know this by now.
Yeah, absolutely. The problem is they get these people. Like I said, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Whether they know what they're doing or not. Yeah, they are not helping the cause in any way. You know, that's how I see it. If you're not going to start talking about people have broken the law and they should be held accountable for, then I don't understand what your end goal is here. You know, we spoke earlier just before we come online. You know, you've got the pandemic treaty coming up. You know, for me, if you're looking at it, this is all playing into that. Because if you're not going to go to the police about this and you're not going to start this as a criminal investigation and you're going to play this off as the whole thing was just a mistake and we should learn and we should do better and, you know, nobody's to blame for this, then you are playing straight into the pandemic treaty's hands. Because at the end of the day, this is what they want. The next pandemic, the next pandemic that comes back around, they're going to have full say on what goes on inside this country if we sign up to it. And the perfect way to do that is to make every single person who was in control at the time, make them look incompetent. Because then you can say, well, we're just going to hand it over to the experts next time. You know?
Yeah, no, I see that. Yeah. It's the same way as, I don't know, it's like you know, when like 9/11 happened, they all kind of like blamed it, like there were documentaries coming out and Michael Moore like blaming it all on George Bush. And so everyone was like, oh, okay, yeah, and then we can replace George Bush with some other clown. And then everyone just sits back and doesn't have to investigate it any further. It just feels like it's sort of a similar kind of thing with this. You know, it's like, oh yeah, COVID, we messed up a little bit. Oh, but we can get it, we can iron out the creases and get it right for the next vaccine that we bring in. You know, it just feels a little bit too much like that at the moment.
And they've already removed the major players out of the play now. You know, everyone who sold it, everyone who was part of it, everyone who had a major decision involved in it are no longer part of anything. They've all disappeared into the ether, haven't they? You know,
like who?
Nobody's actually, you know.
Who?
Also,
Which
I'm
ones?
saying that, well, Boris Johnson, Matt Hancock, all of them. Do you know what I mean? Even down to the media, people like Piers Morgan, you know, just completely out of the loop with it all. You know, he disappeared for a while and has now come back to champion whatever else is going on. But what I'm saying is all these people are no longer at the forefront of it all. You know, they've managed to do their bit and then just disappear.
Yeah, they kind of
So
made
it
sure
does
they
feel
were
very much like that. Yeah.
they made sure they were part of the whole wave to get everyone to inject the poison. And then as soon as everyone's injected it, then it's like it's quite easy for them to just go, oh yeah, okay, maybe it wasn't such a good idea. Yeah, the horse has already bolted, mate. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like like how is it that we like? I'm sorry, but as soon as that jab came out, or even weeks before, I mean, I was saying in 2019, do not take the snake oil because it's going to come out in a few months. Do not take it. I was predicting this in 2019 when Wuhan was hitting, and how is it that I knew right early on that this did not stop transmission or infection, but it took months and months and months and months for them to finally kind of admit it. You know, like it was obvious. It said it on their fucking websites.
Yeah, well, you know, I was on Doc Malik's podcast the other day. We were saying, you know, people who've got, you know, three letters by their name, it doesn't equate to having any kind of common sense whatsoever. Book smarts is not common sense. Book smarts is not consciousness, you know. And it does seem like a lot of these, whether intentionally or not, I don't know, you know. But you're right. How do you not know? You know, just the simple mathematics alone in creating that many vials of, you know, that supposed vaccine in that time frame is impossible. It proved that they were already producing that before it happened. So, you know, like it's just and the craziest thing is there's still a lot of people who are still championing this. You know, they refuse to admit that they've been, you know, conned. No.
Yeah. Did you ever see the I was posting this up as well, like from 2010. Is it Jon Snow? But there's a Channel 4 news report and they basically tried it in 2010 and they caught
I remember the swine flu
yeah. And they basically caught them at it and they said they were deliberately trying to push this and they kind of nipped it in the bud early on.
It is one of the greatest medical scandals of the century, according to a leading health expert in Brussels. The Council of Europe health chief has accused major pharmaceutical firms of organizing a campaign of panic and unduly influencing World Health Organization decisions. And with European countries now burdened with bills for millions of unwanted doses of the swine flu vaccine, he wants an investigation. Our science correspondent Tom Clark has this report.
Flu viruses can spread.
64,000 people dead, tens of thousands hospitalized, a country crippled by a virus. The predictions of the impact of swine flu on Britain were grim. The government's response, spending hundreds of millions of pounds on antiviral drugs and vaccines, adverts and leaflets. But 10 months into the pandemic, only 355 Britons have died, and globally, the virus hasn't lived up to our fears. Were governments misled into preparing for the worst? Politicians in Brussels are now asking for an investigation into the role pharmaceutical companies played in influencing political decisions that led to a swine flu spending spree.
And it's basically like they had a 10-year run up to kind of iron out the creases and like up the propaganda, up the marketing avenues, and then they pumped it out again. It's exactly the same playbook.
Exactly the same, and people just got the shortest memories ever, you know. And even when you show them that, you know, they'd still be able to justify it in some way.
They've got the fluorides there. Like I tried to show my friends and family, and they're kind of looking at it, but they have this sort of glazed look, as if like you're showing them, I don't know, like showing them about reptilian transdimensional fucking theories or something.
Crazy.
It's just they will not. They've been so programmed to see anything outside the narrative as the most wacko jacko kind of conspiracy theory that they almost like they kind of go a little bit almost like that when you show them data. Very strange there, but
it's consciousness. That is what it is. I said to a friend the other day, you know, they're leading us into an era of they want people just to live on headsets for the rest of their lives. You're literally just going to be plugged into the matrix. You know, we've all seen the film, but the truth is we're already there to some extent because there are people walking around with virtual headsets on now. They just cannot see the wood for the trees, you know, and it amazes me. But at the same time, I think it's just what you're born with. You genuinely are just conscious to reality in what's going on around you in your own circumstances, what you're being told, what your gut is telling you, or you ain't. And that's the God's honest truth. You know, you either get it or you don't. And unfortunately, you know, with the jabs, it separated every demographic across the planet. You know, people you've known for years, it doesn't matter. You know, you either got it or you didn't get it. And unfortunately, you know, there was a lot of people who just didn't get it.
And they're going to have to learn the hard way. And it's a shame because I've sort of, I wouldn't say lost friends. I mean, there probably are a few that I've distanced myself from, but there is a feeling of like, man, you're it's like an alliance of evil a little bit, like what you're doing, you know. And it's hard for me to kind of really, I don't know, it's bad for me to say this because you shouldn't see it as a thing to separate you and your buddies, but it does feel as though like I find it hard to connect with you, man. Like see what's going on, and if you're not part of the winning team here, then like it's difficult for me to hang out with you, you know. I don't know.
But see what I was saying about the consciousness, even for those that are conscious, it was an awakening. You know, it shows you, you know, when you know, we're in such a crucial time now, and you know, this is going back to people with the virtual headsets on. They don't see what's going on. They don't see the urgency. They don't see the danger of what is going on in this world, in this country, in this city right now. And they're absolutely clueless to it. So when it's this important, then it makes sense as to why you wouldn't want to hang around with these people anymore. Because, you know, what are they seeing? What are they offering? They're just going to drag you down to some extent, you know? And in some ways, you know what, I wish I was kind of like that, you know, just oblivious, ignorant, living your life, just happy, you know, to some extent.
I know. I do. I mean? But it's hard though, isn't it? It's hard. I mean, I do like. We both like to sort of detach from it and like enjoy the football or whatever, but like at the same time, like we're not going to forget about what's going on. That's the difference.
No, that's it. The thing is as well, I refuse to let them rob me of what I enjoy doing to some extent. You know, I lost a lot of things. I stopped doing a lot. You know, I used to be a big fisherman, and I stopped doing that when lockdowns came. You know, like all my time and effort was focused into doing what I was doing. You know, but like I feel like, you know, if I stop watching the football because I know what goes on with that and how they use that during football, none of the, you know, like, well, then what am I going to have left? Do you know what I mean? Like, what am I going to have to enjoy in my life? So there is times where you do have to, you know, you have to put things aside. But, you know, as well as I do, for someone who is conscious, your mind goes straight back to these things every time because it's relevant right now, you know. And
Exactly.
speaking of relevance, you know, the reason why I'm on here today is to talk about
Yeah,
a
yeah.
certain doctor, you
I
know.
know, I know. All right, so before we go
Good.
into the doctor, right? I want to
Sure.
just ask you a little bit about how it started for you, and because I know you were like one of the most active people like on the streets and protesting and everything else, and using your social media platforms for good use,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
can you just tell us like quickly about that
What
kind of
how it all
awakening?
sort of come
Yeah, how it all
about?
came about, and like when you knew things were off, and what was important to you, and how life sort of changed for you in those early moments.
Yeah, like to be fair, at the beginning, I hold my hands up. I was fooled. I actually did think there was a universal virus that was gonna,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah,
drop everyone like we saw on the
yeah,
TV in Wuhan. People dropping. I genuinely did believe it for about the first 2 to 3 weeks. I remember going to the supermarket with my wife at the time, and we come home and then she wanted to get something else, and I remember being like, no, we're in. You know what I mean? We've been out for like our one trip for the week. Do you know what I mean? And
mm.
we did that a couple of times, and then a friend of mine told me that they were still flying in people from China, and
Yeah,
that was my moment, because I was just like, I couldn't believe. I had to look it up for myself. So I went on the website. You could see the flights coming in and where they're coming in from. And there was like 4 or 5 flights in from China that day. And that was it. I could not, but if you're in charge of the country, if I was in charge of the country, the very first thing I'm doing, if you're talking about a world
yeah,
virus that's this
yeah.
dangerous, the first thing you do is locking down travel from China. That just goes without saying. So that was my red flag for it. I was just like, hold up, this just can't be real. So I was on Instagram anyway. I had like a gaming page or whatever. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to set up a page for COVID. And I called it Exposing COVID.
Mm.
And it worked for anyone. It was literally just for me. It was just a way for me to digitally record
Yeah.
all the things that I was finding that didn't make sense, or I was questioning, or just
Mm.
completely went against the narrative that was being set by the media. And then within, like, I don't know, a week or two, I was up to a couple of hundreds. And then within a month, I was up to like 10,000. And then within about 3 months, I hit about 60 something thousand.
Mm.
And yeah, and that's when I realized, look, right, maybe this ain't just me. Maybe other people are seeing exactly what I'm saying. Because at the beginning, we didn't know anything really. It was all gut instinct. It was all hunch. It was all catching out the lie, but not actually having the truth to it all, but knowing that they were lying about what they were saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we started doing demos. We started doing midweek demos, because there was a lot of people that were getting the ump with the weekend demos, because it just felt like nothing was happening. We were just turning up. We were shouting at empty buildings. We were walking around, and then everyone was just pissing off at the end of the day and
Yeah.
going out on a jolly up. You know what I mean? So a few of the boys and me, we decided to start targeting a few places and people and things like that midweek.
Mm.
We went and sat in at ITV studios. We didn't move from there for a while. We hit the BBC. We done a couple of things, but
Mm.
from the start, the intent of the project or the page or whatever you want to call it is to just have the truth out there, to just have a diplomatic conversation about what actually happened. Because we know now, yeah, because this is what we were saying earlier, with everything that's going on, there, if you're paying attention to what's going on in the media right now, they're telling you literally everything that happened. Like they've just come out and just basically said, the BBC misrepresented
Exactly. Yeah.
everything around COVID at the beginning of, like, no, basically what you're saying is they lied to you, yeah,
Yeah.
they completely gaslit you,
Yeah.
they made you believe something that wasn't happening.
Mm.
And this is what they're doing now. And this is all leading through to where we are with the whole story of COVID. Because there's a lot of people who, when everything sort of finished, i.e. the government sort of gave everyone back their freedoms, or what they perceived to be their freedoms, a lot of people just give up with it. You know, they
Yeah.
even though it was still going on, even though it was still prevalent, you know, all the restrictions and the jabs and everything still going on, the deaths. You know, a lot of people just give up with it. They didn't really want to continue keeping up to date with it all. But I have, you know, I've kept my head in it all, and I think where we are right now is we have a group of unelected, what do you want to call them? Like the upper class, like the snobby lot, you know, the ones who are on TV, the ones that think that they're something, you know. These are the people that have somehow self-appointed themselves into a position for a number of reasons. I'll get to that, but they're in a position now where they are leading the charge against what happened with COVID. But the problem I have is it doesn't seem like they're going in the right direction, and I'm calling it out.
Yeah, all right. So let's go into that. So you started calling this out with a certain Dr. Malhotra. He's one of those people that are suddenly doing a 180 and coming out and saying that, oh, you know, these jabs are bad once the whole planet has had it. You know, this is what the whole farce is all about. But do you want to go into that, and maybe we can knock up we can get the screenshots on as well.
Yeah, well, it started for me. It started when he spoke up. Okay, so I'm not against any kind of. I want to make this abundantly clear, because this is something that a lot of people accuse me of. Okay, I am not against anybody, including him. I'm not against anybody that has changed their minds and possibly seen the light and want to apologize or just have a different view in where they were at the beginning with COVID. Okay, that's not why I am saying what I'm saying about Malhotra. Everybody has the right to say that they was wrong and change their minds. That's a healthy human being. That's how you grow. Yeah, you know, you own your mistakes. Okay, that's how you learn. Okay, the problem I have is, when he first done his 180, I was like, brilliant. You know, we've got a top UK doctor, cardiovascular, whatever, speaking out now.
Now, what this abstract has shown, what this research has shown, is that markers associated with increasing the risk of heart attack and probably even progression of underlying heart disease in people who've already got some heart disease has been significantly increased risk from 11% at 5 years, risk of heart attack, to 25%. Now, that's a huge increase.
So I went on his Instagram page and I said to him, if this is the case, because at the time I've been helping a lady called Anna Dubussier, who is a lawyer in this country. I've been part of her team since the beginning in starting a legal case against the government and the people who have pushed this onto others. So I said to him, you know, you need to contact the police now, because we had a case number at the time. You know, I believe that's even still open, that case number. And I said to him, you need to contact Metropolitan Police now. If you've done a 180 and you understand everything that's going on now, you need to contact the police. And he just laughed at me. He sent 3 laughing emojis. And, you know, I didn't understand why you'd say that. If you've now done a 180 and you understand all the dangers and you understand everything that's come about from that, then why are you not going to the police now? And that's when I first questioned him. And then ever since then, I just, you know, he's now become part of the Together Declaration, you know, another group of self-appointed people who are apparently leading the charge back against COVID, but don't ask any of the questions of relevance at the time, you know. So, yeah, there's there seems to be this cover-up operation, if you want to call it that, going on, where you have these people who seem like they're gunning towards the outcome of it was just a mistake and nobody should be held accountable because we didn't know and we could do better next time.
That's the thing. Yeah. Oh, we can iron out the creases and get the next jab perfect for everyone, you know. Yeah. That's what we don't want. We should see this as an opportunity to go, we're never taking any jabs from these fuckers ever again. That's what the message should be.
The thing is, on Saturday morning, he came into my DMs, this doctor. He said basically, he accused me of working for Big Pharma. It was very odd. But I'd only just woken up. It was first thing on a Saturday morning. This doctor pings up in my DMs. I'm just sort of like, this guy for real? So I offered him out like on a live there and then. I said, come, let's do a live now this morning, and you can say what you need to say, and I'll say what I need to say. And he blocked me. And then I put a post up saying I'd had this interaction with him. I saying that, you know, I've told you guys this is what this guy's about. And I had people on my side, on this side of the argument, people who believe what's going on and follow me for, didn't believe me, you know, saying things like I created the content myself, and you know, oh, it must be somebody else. Someone's hacked his account, and there's no way that's him because of his spelling. And I was just like, are you for real? And then a couple of days later, he tells everybody that he had this interaction with me, which just justified everything I said, which is just amazing. Because for me, that just it screams to me that he's got his back in a corner now, you know.
Yeah,
and he's worried. He's worried because he's playing victim now.
yeah, exactly. So do you think that he's kind of realizing that the scrutiny's on him at the moment with what you're saying, and he's trying to deflect it a little bit?
Yeah, my original assessment of him after I spoke to him is that he's not legitimate. So what I mean is, he has realised from an early point, as somebody who sat on national TV and told others to take it, and had his father supposedly take it, and you know, his father promoted it on his Twitter account as well, and you know, I think he realised early that, oh, this isn't, you know. I can't say that he knew what was going on from the very start, okay? But what I feel is that he realizes that something isn't right now, and he is possibly in the firing line for it. Because if you sat on that, you know, at the end of the day, right, if you're a doctor, you do no harm. That's your first do no harm, So if somebody's telling you to promote something that you don't know nothing about, because this is what he said, he didn't know anything about this. He had to learn all of this, okay? So you've already admitted that you've done harm, because you promoted a medical product that you didn't know anything about, that had no long-term safety testing, and you sat on national TV for a wage and promoted that to people to take. Well then, sir, you are part of a crime, whether you like it or not, whether you've done a 180 now because you've realised the errors of your ways, but you are still part of a crime. And this is where we are right now with the whole story of COVID, because I'm on one side of the fence saying to people, well, if he's saying all this to this point now, where does he go from this? Because the only logical place you go from this is, well, it was a crime, and I must report this now to the police.
Yeah.
And if he ain't doing that, then what is his goal? But not only that, by not doing that, he's going to have all the people that he's now got on side because he's spoken up, and they're going to start asking him, well, where are you going?
Yeah, it's almost like it's almost like he's pacing and leading the disgruntled audience, the disgruntled public, by kind of empathizing with how they're feeling about what went on, getting a lot of collective sort of support and trust in him, and then maybe potentially moving us into the new and upgraded version, you know. And that's what that could be a possibility. So
they're already talking about the cancer mRNA jab now, aren't they? And if you know, if what is being touted is the truth, which I do believe it to be, you know, the amount of cancer predictions that are going to come out off of the back of what people have taken, you know, they've just made clients for the rest of their lives. You know, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that people still can't see.
I know
what is actually going on.
I know, and you know, I spoke to John O'Looney, the funeral director, and he's had a lot of contact from people saying to him that the next one, if it's going to be disease X or whatnot, but he's basically saying that they're going to, all these soldiers coming in at the moment of the fighting age are brought in from the UN. They've been trained in Turkey and Ukraine to round us up basically if we don't take it, and put us into certain lockdown facilities that are shaped like an X. I can show the audience this. So I mean, it's kind of, it's hard not to connect the dots here and to see that like what just went on in the last 3 years is almost like a dummy run for something a lot bigger, and then we're going to lose a lot of the, well, they're trying to bypass the kind of laws in this country, common law in this country, and give it all to these supranational WHO, WEFs, you know, who are totally unelected, unaccountable, just bureaucrats in dark suits, and everyone's sort of, yeah,
terrorists.
they're
Call them
terrorists.
terrorists
Yeah,
now.
of
Do you
course
know what I
they
mean?
are.
That's exactly what they are.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's the very definition of the word, you know. You know, the likes of the WHO and the likes of Big Pharma, they're just medical terrorists, you know, and they're all hand in hand with the food companies, you know, they're all owned by the same thing. I was saying to a friend the other day, you know, we don't realize everything we do, we touch, we eat, we drink, it's all poisoned, everything, and it's all hand in hand with them, so that we become ill, so that then they can then sell us the, you know, the so-called cure. You know,
solution to it.
and this is what we live in now. You know, we live in a crazy world where our health is actually a business. You know,
And what, you know, that post you put on recently, that on Instagram, where it was like, oh yeah, growing your own food creates 5 times your carbon footprint. I mean, come on, how can you not see this game plan going on? Like,
yeah, it's wild. It's absolutely wild.
absolutely
The thing
wild.
is, it's not aimed at us though, is it? It's aimed at the next generation. It's aimed at these poor, scared kids that have, you know, grown up through the COVID era of watching people from behind masks, you know, absolutely shitting their pants every day. And now, you know, like everybody just follows what the TV tells them, you know, and these poor kids, you know, there's people out there, you know, who don't have 2 cents to rub together, who wouldn't even question that was the truth, you know. Oh yes, you know, you can't grow your own because the TV told us, you know. Like,
imagine that. Imagine like growing your own veg has become like one of the ultimate crimes in modern society.
I swear to God, maybe I'm just making up, but I swear to God, there was some kind of like comedy sketch where something was like that before, yeah, where like it was literally like the height of anarchy was growing, like, you know, a marrow in a fucking.
It's just it's beyond clown world at this point.
It is. We live in backwards times. It's we're devolving. We're not evolving anymore.
No,
we're devolving in real time.
How many sort of, like, you know, when you started off your channels and stuff, like did you really build like a bit of a tribe then with that? And like were you kind of really getting some traction with that then?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, at one point, you know, the amount of traffic that was going through that, I think I was hitting 1 million accounts every week off of the back of that. You know, and the word was getting out there, you know, and you've only got to look how the likes of Instagram move throughout all of that with their fact checking services. And, you know, I've had probably 6 or 7 accounts in the last 4 years for this COVID account, you know, and it just proved they had to get rid of me because I become almost like an encyclopedia of what had happened, you know, and it was all time stamps, you know, there was, everything was there from the start of it. You know, if them accounts were still allowed to, if they were still alive and they were still running, you could read that from the start to the end, and it would show you from A to B how they lied and now what they're admitting to now, you know. And yeah, I've always said it, the best of times and the worst of times, you know. I made some really good connections. People I call good friends now, you know, who I see regularly, you know. And it's good time. They're definitely a good community of
no, it is
like-minded, conscious people, you know.
Yeah, and it's probably gonna, when they do the next round, that's probably going to have a wake-up effect on a lot of people as well. It's also like some of my moderate friends woke up. I call them the moderates, the ones that are like not really kind of onto it, but then you show them a few things, they're open-minded and they get it, and they're like, fucking hell, like,
yeah,
it's quite obvious now that you've showed it.
I think we had a lot more moderates than what we did hardcore COVID believers. You know, you can see who are still the hardcore, because they're the ones still out in masks. You know, like 90% of those that took it now are like, no. Even they look at the people in masks and think fucking weird.
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
The thing is, though, you know, the only reason they're not wearing masks is because the mainstream media have stopped talking about it. That's the only reason.
Yeah, That as well, yeah.
Like, you know, when the Putin invasion, that's what stopped all the COVID propaganda, and then they stopped talking about it, and everyone just didn't wear the mask because they weren't told to. If they would come back on telly again and just say, "Oh, there's another pandemic, and then we need to wear a mask," they'd all be back in fear straight away. Like,
I don't know, I don't know if all of them, but I think you'd get a lot who would be like, "No, you're not. You fooled me once. I don't think you fooled me
I
twice."
hope
You
so.
know.
Well, it's
So
not
do I.
big.
The problem is it's what the next pandemic is. So let's say we go with the Marburg virus, which has been touted. You know, if you're seeing people now bleeding from their eyeballs and their noses and their ear holes, that's going to be a lot harder to fucking not be scared of and not believe. And do you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I don't know. It's just like the alien invasion. You know, when it happens, how many of you are going to actually be able to stand there and go, "That's real"?
Yeah,
that's not actually happening. Do you know what I mean? When if they've got some kind of fucking craft that they've just blown up Big Ben with a laser, or do you know what I'm saying? It's a lot easier to believe something when you're actually witnessing it rather than it not. Even though they fooled a lot of people without actually witnessing anything.
Exactly,
You know?
I know. They've got plenty up their sleeve. What do you reckon the PSYOP bingo is going to be this year? Like, what's on your PSYOP bingo list?
I don't know. Maybe Trump assassination, things like that. You know, really kick things off in America. You know, like I don't know. Yeah, I definitely think we're going to see some shit. I think we're going to see some kind of terrorist attack. Whether it be in this country or a big event, maybe like the Olympics or something along them lines.
Yeah, I think there's going to be terror attacks in London. I do. I think that's going to happen. I was already saying before, like the beginning of the show, I was saying there's going to be threats of nuclear war. I thought that's going to get everyone into a state of fear.
Of course.
And then obviously the next pandemic, you know, the next Uncle Bill's recipe for everyone. I actually think that potentially they just still got all those unused, like the last batch of the vaccines that they haven't got rid of, and it's another excuse to sort of sell all those, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, well, they've got to make their money, haven't they? It's a business. That or they just ship them off to Africa, wouldn't they? You know, like that's usually the game plan.
That's usually the plan, isn't it? Yeah. But so I'm guessing you will be on the front lines when it all kicks off again, will you?
Yeah, definitely. You know, like I've never said that. You know, you go back before. I'm not an activist. That's not me. I just stood up at the time because it's what was the right thing to do, and it personally affected me. You know, I'll quite happily sit here and say, you know, if I was a multi-millionaire at the time and I could have just fucked off to some small Caribbean island and forget about it all, then who knows? Do you know what I mean? But it affected me, and I did what I perceived to be the right thing. As for doing it now, back at, you know, I think we've been there, done that in terms of protesting. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. I'm not saying that people shouldn't be doing it. But no, I won't be there again until it really matters, you know, until they... I've always said that it won't be the public acting. It will be us reacting to something that they do that really sets it off or kicks it off, or however you want to put it, you know. But I've always championed that this has to be done democratically. You know, since the start of it, when we were out on math, you know, a lot of people have always bigged up the whole anarchy aspect, and, you know, we should be out there fighting them and dragging them. Well, you know, you start talking about having riots and that, and you know, you're not in control of that anymore. What you might want the outcome to be might not be the outcome, and the people you want in charge might not be the people you want in charge at the end of it. So I don't know, you know. Unfortunately, if you're looking out through history, no, nothing's ever been resolved diplomatically. So there is that as well. But I don't know. I don't know how long. I don't know how long society or the UK public can carry on putting up with the likes of who we've got in government and the opposition, because it's blatantly obvious now that these people are not for the country. You know, they have absolutely no interest in helping the people of this country. All they want to do is just fleece them for billions upon billions, you know, Yeah, I just don't know how long people can continue to put up with this, because the longer it goes on, the more people to wake up to the scam that we all live in. You know, none of us are born to pay taxes to these terrorists, paedophiles, sympathising, you know, maniacs, because that's what they are at the end of the day. You know, we can see they're trying to wage war across the world in our name. You know, with our pound notes. It's I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how long people can
they're still
continue to
voting.
put up
I
with
just don't
this.
get it how people can still vote like one side or the other. They're two asses of two cheeks of the same asshole. Like they're both completely in bed with like the World Health Organization and the WEF. It's like you just don't get it's like it's the choice between a Chinese burner or a fart in the mouth, you know. It's Russell Brand's.
It's just like, it's true though. Like
why are you going along with this? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it. I don't understand. You know, like the biggest thing we could do as a nation is tomorrow, if we could somehow, if you could get it going, you know, everyone just stops paying their fucking taxes.
Yeah,
that's the biggest message we could send these people. We ain't funding you no more. You know, if it was any other business, you know, and they were abusing your money like this, they wouldn't be in business for much longer. You know, this kind of neglect and misuse of public spending and, you know, crimes that they've committed. How do these politicians stay in a job? It's crazy. And then, you know, like I was saying about virtual headsets, you know, a lot of people that still believe in politics wear this virtual headset. You know, politics is an illusion. It doesn't actually exist in this country. If voting did anything, it'd be made illegal.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're elected, not they're selected, not elected. That's what people need to understand. I always give the example. It's a little bit like, you know, in WWF where like they arrange beforehand who's going to like get the pin, right? And then you have a baby face and a heel. So you'd have like the heel is the bad guy, and they'd come out and then they'd be champed. They'd walk out with the belt, and they'd be told to like, what do they say? They there's a phrase for it where they give it over to the other guy, the baby face, right? And he takes the belt. It's the same thing. And then everyone gets really encouraged by that new baby face that's champion, and they're all supporting him. And then it just flips into like the bad guy, then the good guy, you know, and it goes on and on, right? But behind the scenes, it's all orchestrated. They know who's going to get the belt. And it's a similar sort of thing with these prime ministers and presidents. It's like they know that people are kind of getting frustrated and disappointed with the current leader, so they'll package and market someone who represents like the renegade, the one that's going to go against that one, and like, you know, be the change. This is the guy. No, finally, this is the guy, and all it is just handing.
This is the one that's going to do something.
You know, but people get sucked into.
It's the same within America right now. You know, like with the whole thing with the Trump thing. You know, like for 4 years, people have literally been sitting there crying, crying that the election was stolen. Right, this is what they believe. They actually believe, whether whatever's happened is real or not, they believe wholeheartedly, that they believe that the election was stolen from them, meaning that it was illegal. But yet they're then going to go back out and vote again this time around because Trump's going to get in this time. Hold up, you just said the election was stolen. Why are you then going to go back out and start voting in another in democracy?
It makes them want to vote. See how clever that is. It makes them want to go and vote again.
Want to do it again, That's it. Kind of... You won't do it this time. You won't steal it this time.
This time we're going to make sure this time. You know, it's just like I think it's quite clever and genius the way they market it, and they write the scripts for all this sort of stuff. You know,
politics is just sport, innit, without the football.
Without the enjoyment and the bother.
It's literally that. You know, my team's better than your team. I don't actually care what my team do, just as long as it beats your team. You know. Exactly.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
There we go. Do you want to? Can you plug your do you want to plug your Instagram or anything else?
I can do. The Instagram is now called, because it's about the 7th page. It's now called Exposing Convid. I changed it up a little bit. You see, like the play on words. And my personal's official Dirty Monkey. If you want to follow that, I'm Dirty Monkey on Twitter as well. I just say what I think, basically, which is well against the rules in today's society.
Exactly. You're the ultimate criminal for that, aren't you? Yeah.
Ultimate criminal.